I'm here with Don and Jamie, and CEO of Emergent 3D at their 4 3D printed houses, an amazing project. They all look a little bit different. Thanks for letting me stop by, Don.
For sure. Welcome to Reading.
We're gonna take a look at the progress. They're almost complete. You got the electricians doing some of the finish out work.
Yep.
Unfortunately, there's a little bit of flooding. I guess there's a lot of PVC pipes. You're probably going to address that somehow.
Yeah. We still have site work to do, and we just can't do it with all the rain. But the pipes you see laying out are sewer lines. We still have, again, the rest of the construction to complete inside and out.
Keep in mind, it's an active construction project, so it's not in its finished form. It's not so pretty, but we really appreciate that Don's letting us stop by. So
sure.
Let's take a look.
Let's do it.
All right. Which one should we look at first?
Well, let's go on in the gate here. One of the things you'll notice on the outside is every one of them has a slightly different exterior look. The 4 homes on this property are all the same floor plan. However, the first 3, you'll see that we put an exterior skim coat on the 3D printed portion. But on the 4th one here, the one on the far right, the print quality was such that the owner was happy with it, and we just painted it. You can see the gable ends are all stuccoed, the soffits are all stuccoed. But yeah, all 4 homes have a slightly different texture to it, a different look. And if I'm being honest, on the first 3, the print quality just wasn't there to leave it exposed. So we wanted to give it a more user-friendly finish, you could say. But then this one, we're really happy with how this one came out.
Yeah, they all look a little bit different, but from the printer's perspective, it was kind of copy-paste, right?
Virtually identical. We made modifications to the floor plan and the tool path just for efficiency, but generally speaking, they're exactly the same home.
And what's the finish strategy on this versus the others? Is there a name for it, or?
As far as the exterior finish goes? Well, these are actually just old school stucco. Yeah. Yep.
And the patterns are achieved by?
A hand trowel. This is all done by hand. And that's, obviously at some point as the technology gets better, we want to eliminate that portion of labor, right? That's all part of the plan going forward.
So I guess that last 4th one would be a little bit cheaper than the others.
Absolutely. Yep.
Great.
Absolutely.
Which one is the most finished on the inside?
We started from down here, so I would guess that one, but it may not be unlocked as we speak. I can round up the key and we can get in, but what we might do is go in where we know the electrician's working.
Yeah.
Why don't we start with that and see how far along they are. They all look very similar on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
So this going through this one should be a good indication of what they're all looking like.
And did you buy this lot to print these, or what, did you work with the city?
Worked with the city on this, and this is actually owned by a local nonprofit. It's a housing organization by the name of Access Home.
Very nice.
And they provide housing for at-risk populations, and that's exactly what these 4 homes are going to be used for.
It's a great use case because they're so durable.
Yes, that's for sure. So it looks like in this one, flooring is starting to go down.
Cool. We got half floor.
Electrician's been in here. You can see the ceiling cans are starting to go in. Doors are delivered and getting ready to paint and install. Cabinets are all in, countertops.
And it's also the same floor plan as the first printed home you did.
That's right. They're all the same. And you can see in here, we also did a skim coat. We left it quite a bit smoother. There's a better view. It's got a little bit of the glare from outside. I would call this like an old world plaster finish. You see some of the roughness here and there, but generally it's a very smooth, user-friendly finish, like an old world plaster.
Very popular in New Mexico, Arizona.
That's right. Yep.
And all the walls have these curved, rounded edges, super uncommon in typical construction, especially nonprofit.
Well, that's for sure. That's for sure.
Was it tricky for the electrician to do his job in here?
Well, yeah. So we had the benefit of working with a lot of the subcontractors that I've worked with for years. I'm a conventional builder as well before getting into this. And so the electrician is one that I've used for many, many years. And they were easy to convince to get on board to help us figure this thing out. There's been a lot of, details to have to work out. How do we install boxes as we go? And how do we do the wiring, and everything's just a little bit different, and they've been really instrumental in helping us figure all that out.
Here we have a little peek at the raw printed wall.
Yep.
To me, that looks pretty good.
Yeah. It certainly wasn't bad. It came out pretty nicely. And what you see here, the plumbing that's in here, this will all cover. We've got a mirror that will end up covering this entire thing from top of backsplash to the ceiling.
That's great because it's then still accessible. You can remove the
We
mirror
can
later.
always pop it off if we have to do a repair. Yeah, so one of the features, one of the things we always liked about this design are the full height openings. It made the 3D printing process really very versatile for us. Again, all these are the same, but the 4 homes on this property, the first one was printed, I mean, there was probably a 50-degree difference in temperature from the time we printed the first one to the last one. And so you have to think about things like layer time. When it was cold enough out, we were able to print the entire house as a single object, and it would be about a 30-minute layer time, and we were fine with that because we still got the bonding we needed because it wasn't setting up so quickly. As the temperature got warmer with these full height openings, we were able to split the house up into 2 and even 3 separate objects so that we could have a faster layer time and still get the bonding that we needed. And it was these full height openings that allowed it because we could print that half full height, and then when we get here with these full height openings that are right in line, we could drop that x-axis all the way down again and then start printing from here over. And that's a key design element that really people should be thinking about because you just never know. And that was a really nice feature about this because we could make those adjustments. The flip side is if the object's too small, and the temperature is cool outside, you can't slow your machine down enough to get a long enough layer time for stacking material. You'll have the opposite problem then. So this gave us all the versatility that we needed.
It's great that you have the general contracting experience because 3D printing is hard as it is, and then construction's its own beast, which takes decades to learn.
That's for sure. I mean, we were blessed here at Emergent to have some real experts working with us within the company and with Cobod to help us figure a lot of this stuff out. Because, as you said, I personally was quite busy with everything else. You know, it was nice to have the 3D print experts get this done because it really has been quite a task to get the rest of it working out.
A lot of the GC work you do is for wildfire recovery?
It is. It just happened to happen that way. It's nothing we ever planned for, nothing we ever wish for. But, you know, when we had the fire blow through here in 2018, we were available and we were needed. And so we did do a lot of fire rebuilding at the time. And that's when this whole idea was presented to me and became very attractive to me because not only can it leverage a diminishing workforce, but we can perhaps create houses that can have a fighting chance of withstanding the next disaster, you know?
Yeah, certainly. I can only imagine after seeing houses be burned down, having to rebuild them, you'd want to build something that wouldn't be at risk of that again. Is there some kind of fire rating on these homes, or?
They are there. So in California, and maybe elsewhere, I'm not positive about that, but there is a code ordinance called the Wildland Urban Interface, the WUI, and so the homes have to be WUI, W-U-I compliant. These homes are all WUI compliant. Now, we don't have to 3D print a home for it to be WUI compliant, but to make a conventional framed home WUI compliant adds a significant amount of cost. Here, our 3D printed wall is naturally fire resistant, so we're good there. And then it's just the compliance on what we do with the roof structure and how we seal the eaves and those types of things.
If you were to ballpark it, what's the cost for a typical lumber frame home versus the WUI lumber frame home?
You know, there is, on the average home, and I'm guessing here, it's probably in about the $20,000 to $25,000 difference range. And I'm kind of going back because One of the things that happened as we were doing a bunch of the rebuilds, there were many people that had insurance and we were helping them rebuild. One of the things the insurance companies needed to know is not only how much does it cost to rebuild, but how much are the code upgrades? The WUI compliance was a major code upgrade. Many of the homes were not built because WUI wasn't a thing back when they were built. Now they had to be. And so as I remember, a lot of those numbers, it ranged from maybe $20,000 to $40,000 of added cost for the WUI compliance.
Which is probably 2 to 5% of the home value. Or
Yeah. It's a fair amount. Yeah, certainly.
And I'd imagine with insurance costs skyrocketing, that $20,000 pays for itself within a few years or 5 years.
Well, that's certainly the hope. Having said that, when we had our wildfire blow through, many homes that were WUI compliant, many homes that had fire sprinklers burned down. There were some reports that fire got upwards of 1,400 degrees. And so it's going to destroy everything along the way. Even slabs that were left after homes burned down got so superheated that they had to be demolished and taken out. At some point, there isn't much you can do.
Yeah.
Our goal is to just create a fighting chance of survival.
Yeah, scary stuff. One of the innovations you had on this job site was the batch plant mixer. What was your experience with that? Are you excited about using the batch plant mixer more, or is it something maybe you prefer ready mix?
I still like the thought. It gave us a lot of versatility. Having a pre-mixed mortar reduces the variability, it reduces the adjustability of it. All you can do is either add more water or less water. Again, back to the temperature difference and the climate difference, our CTO was able to make adjustments to the formula on the fly as needed throughout the day because we were batching on site. And that would be a level of adjustment that is taken away when you're using the mortar. Additionally, it's quite a bit lower cost to do it that way. So I personally want to keep working on that, work the bugs out of those systems. And there's bugs in all of this, and we're working out those bugs as we go. But I would like to work that out because it really is the cost-saving way of doing it. There's already, it's conventional Portland cement. So structurally, there's already acceptance compared to perhaps a lot of these mortar mixes.
It makes a lot of sense that there would be cost savings because you're taking something you'd be buying from someone else where they're charging you extra margin for not only mixing it somewhere else and paying their guys, but also shipping it on site to you, being able to just get those raw materials and cut out the middleman. But then there's a whole new set of challenges, like you really need a materials expert on site at that point, right?
It's ideal. And again, we were blessed to have one of the world's best, with Dr. Zarayan here. When he was part of the company. So we were blessed to have him here and help us figure those things out. That said, I don't know that it's necessary to have a person like that on site on every print. Certainly we need to figure out a way to avoid that because we're not all blessed to have somebody that talented. So the industry needs to evolve to work that out. And that's one of the things we're hoping to do.
It's certainly still in the very early stages, so as you're figuring out how it all works, doing the R&D, it's great to have the experts. I guess long-term Kobot talks about how the batch plant mixer is collecting all this data where it could be handling a lot of this stuff automatically.
Would be wonderful. Yes, we're looking forward to that.
Do you think it would be the same system or the system needs some upgrades to reach that level?
I would assume it's going to need some upgrades. It's going to need, certainly some feedback monitoring as to what is the output doing and what's it looking like. But I'm a construction guy, and so a lot of this, again, if I'm being very honest, a lot of this is far over my head. I'll leave a lot of that to the expert. I think I'm pretty good at putting together the pieces and building a home. That's really my forte. There's a huge shortage of housing. This helps us avoid it. I love it. And I know, Jared, a big part of what you do is for 3D concrete printing. For me, it's just another tool. We need housing, and this is another tool. 3D printing homes is not the answer to everything. There are still projects out there that stick framing is the better way to go, and I recommend it to people. 3D printed can solve lots of problems, and we're working on it, and there is absolutely a future, and that's what I'm looking forward to. And it's exciting to be a part of helping develop this crazy new tool.
Yeah, it's not easy to be on the cutting edge, so it's a good thing you're doing it.
Yeah, yeah, you got that right.
Another great innovation you guys had was with your people. You were able to use union labor
Yep.
with Luna.
Yep. Yeah, so early on, I knew that we're going to reduce the number of man hours it'll take to build a home. So theoretically, I should be able to pay employees more and not have it cost more to build the house, right? So as I was thinking about the crew I wanted to attract, I wanted to try and attract the best and the brightest I can find. I didn't need 50 people, I needed 5. So the thinking all along was that I wanted to pay a good wage. At the same time, I wanted the unions on our side and not against us. It's a very easy narrative for people to tell, to say the robots are stealing your jobs, you need to fight this. So I didn't even want to go down that road. So we reached out to LiUNA, and to their credit, they embraced us wholeheartedly. So not only do our employees get paid a good living wage, but they get their benefits, they get retirement money set aside. And I can tell you from experience, that's just not the norm in construction. Finally, we can actually, in the residential market, afford to pay that kind of wage and scale and benefits and still build relatively affordable homes. And then on top of it all, LiUNA is committed to creating a training program for us. And so as Emergent expands and as other companies expand, if they get connected with LiUNA, at some point, hopefully soon, but sooner or later, they're going to have a training program, and perhaps the day will come that you can call your local LiUNA office and dispatch a pre-trained 3D print crew.
Yeah, that would be amazing. It would really reduce a lot of the learning curve for a lot of teams and make it easier for general contractors to act like regular general contractors, where they don't need to know how to do plumbing. They just need the guy that knows how to do plumbing. They don't need to know how to do electrical themselves. They just need the guy that knows it.
Yeah. What we've had to do, and what every other company like ours has had to do, is they've had to pay their employees to teach them, right? We've had to hire people and we've had to pay to train them. When LiUNA gets their feet under them and gets this training program in place, those days are gone. We can actually call people right out of that local union hall, and they're fully trained. And now the training cost is not on us as employers. It's already been done. It's been borne by LiUNA and those employees, and now we just get to hire them and put them to work.
You did a great project in LA, the first printed building in LA.
Yep.
Congratulations. That's very hard to do.
Thank you.
The permitting there is one of the most challenging in the world, I understand.
True, and I will say, in fairness, although we did a little bit of advising when it came to the design, the team at Woodbury did all the permitting work. Them and their engineers. Emergent was minimally involved in that part of it. Certainly we executed. We did the 3D printing of it and all the rest, but yeah, we got it printed and we got it all signed off and approved. So that was quite a nice feather in our caps. Yeah.
I'm sure with all the land they own there, they have a ton of clout. They can almost do anything they want.
You're talking Woodbury?
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually fought. It was not easy.
Wow.
They kind of had to fight through it. But I can tell you, we've done 6 homes here and 1 down there. And I can tell you the exposure that we have gotten as a company is probably 10 times more because of that 1 in LA than the 6 up here in tiny little Redding, California. Mm-hmm. But there are projects that are being spawned out of that 1 little thing that we did down there that you'll be hearing about over the course of the next few months, I'm sure.
It's great that it's a student project because all those people join the workforce and they got exposure to it. Now when they think about doing new housing projects, 3D printing might be on the top of their mind.
That's right. It's absolutely, not only does this technology require fewer employees to build a house, fewer man hours, but it also attracts a generation that would not normally come into construction, right? Not a whole lot of people want to swing a hammer. When I was in my teens and 20s, I did it. It's what my dad did, so I did it. But now the numbers are, for every 5 of me that's aging out of swinging a hammer, there's only 1 coming in. And so we can't keep up. The beauty of this technology is we can leverage, the automation of it, but it's also attracting a generation that would not normally come into the trades.
Yeah.
Because it's not difficult physical work. You're building homes that will make a difference in people's lives, and there's a generation that cares deeply about that, and they're doing it in a way that is pretty cool, that involves tech, that, the day will come that, there could be a person remotely controlling this thing, without even physically having to be out in the elements.
Yeah, I think the location being in LA had a big impact on the reach of that project.
Yeah.
Also, the headline cost number, which I think benefited a lot from getting the land from the school, and also was a lot of the labor, student labor.
There was some of that, and there was also some donation. They tried from what I heard of the leadership there, the numbers they were quoting for cost, they were trying to take into account the in-kind contributions as well.
It's very hard to estimate things.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And I could tell you from our end, I mean, we certainly did charge them something for building it, but it cost us more to perform that project than we charged them because we wanted to be involved. Like this, it's the state of the industry right now. Sometimes you need to pay to play, and that's certainly where we were at on that one.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of expenses doing a project 9 hours away.
That's right.
Wouldn't have been, you have to ship the printer, the batch plant mixer, all the people have to stay there. At least the printer operators part, you used your guys, right?
Yep, we did.
Yeah, so those things probably wouldn't have been so expensive if it was in your own backyard.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
There, you mentioned you guys are working on some things. You've kind of went into a development mode where you're focusing on planning what your business is going to look like in the future. Are you ready to talk about those things yet, or still kind of in?
There are big things coming, and I don't think it's time yet. No,
Sure.
I think I'd like to hold off on that still.
No rush. I'll be back when you're ready.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, what's next that you can talk about?
Well, right here in Reading, and in fact, if you're still in town, we've got a meeting this afternoon. We've got a local nonprofit that houses homeless people, the Good News Rescue Mission. We have a meeting with them this afternoon. They want to do 40 living units on a piece of property that they own. Today is our first meeting on site there. If you're available, if you want to come do it, that'd be fun to kind of film that. It is literally our first on-site meeting to discuss this. Who knows where it'll go, but it's kind of a unique insight as to what it takes to get a project rolling. This is a first meeting, but from what I understand, they've got some funding, some donated funding in place, or maybe grant funding in place for all the infrastructure work. And there is some workforce development grant funds available that for concrete 3D printing, that's an easy story to tell, that we're developing a new workforce in this new industry. So perhaps there's that funding available. And today is the kickoff meeting for that potential project. So certainly we have that one coming up right here in town. We've got a fire memorial project. Again, we lost a firefighter at the fire we had about 5 years ago, and there's been other firefighters lost here in town. So they're wanting to do a fire memorial in front of one of the local fire department buildings here in town. When I saw their initial design for what they wanted to build, it was this round structure, and I thought, oh, that's perfect for us. So we injected ourselves into the conversation, and our community development guy, Joe Kameni, is working very closely with them to help them raise the funds to build it, and that's one that we have coming up as well.
I really like the round structures because you can really make the argument at that point that it would be much more challenging to do with traditional construction.
That's right. Everybody wants to make the comparison of cost per square foot, conventional to 3D printed, and
it's not fair.
It's not really fair. It's a little bit of apples and oranges because if you want a square rectangle structure, I'd say that stick framing will beat the 3D print any day of the week. But if you want curvy and organic and even functionally curvy, not just for beauty's sake, but functionally, curved buildings and walls, I'll put that up against stick frame any day, and we should be able to beat it in pricing.
The other reason it's so unfair is because it's so new. So every project, someone's doing some new type of R&D, whether it's a new material solution or a new batch plant mixer, something's being changed as the industry is growing and developing. So to take that phase and compare it to something people have been doing the same way for 40 years, it's kind of ridiculous.
Very true. We're getting there though. I could tell you about a project that we have coming up in Central California. It's a couple of homes for Habitat for Humanity, just 2 structures. And these are 800, 900 square foot a piece. And of course, you know, our architect, Ben Albertson, incorporated curves and shapes into it.
Nice.
But when I talk about functional, one of the things he did, and for those of you that know construction, you know that for ADA, the Americans with Disability Act requirements, there are certain rooms and certain places where you need a 5-foot radius. You need to be able to get in and turn, you know, if you're in a wheelchair or whatever for ADA requirement, there's this 5-foot radius requirement in bathrooms. And so a lot of times when you look at plans that were designed per ADA requirements, you'll see a square room with a round circle in it that depicts that you have 5 feet clear, right? And so I call that, you know, the round peg in the square hole. Well, what Ben did with that project down in Tuolumne is he actually curved walls out where he needed his 5-foot radius. So it's functional. So we don't have these dead corners anymore. Let's actually make the room round because we can. That doesn't make sense with stick framing, but it makes a ton of sense. And so it's functional, and quite frankly, it's also beautiful. And we're not wasting space. And again, like the 3D printer does curves much more easily than it does 90-degree corners. So let's take advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you'll be moving away from this design that you've printed 6 times already.
I bet we will build it again, but right now we don't have a project with this same floor plan scheduled for it.
The meeting this afternoon, they would have a new floor plan as well?
New floor plan. That one, we have a design that I think they might incorporate, that it's a 4-plex. These are, consider them like studio apartments, each of them around the 400 to 500 square foot range, and 4-plex, but rather than 4 units all right next to each other where you have 2 in the middle and 2 on the ends, it's actually, I would call it like a cloverleaf design.
Okay.
So every unit has 2 exterior walls. And again, we can be, you know, give it some curve and shape and appeal. And I think that's what they want to go with. So perhaps 10 of those 4-plex buildings is what we would do there.
Very nice. I recently visited, I'm headed up next to Nidus 3D up in Canada, where they're also doing 4-unit complexes. Are you working with them or other printing companies? Is there a lot of collaboration?
There a little bit, you know, prior to us having our printer, actually me and one of my employees, Sean, spent a couple of weeks with the crew at Nidus, and they're great guys, and we learned a lot from them. And I know that, you know, Sean had stayed in touch with them. So there isn't much active collaboration, but certainly we're rooting for them, just like I believe they're rooting for us, and we're all figuring this out together.
Yeah, for sure. Can we check out the one with the exposed walls?
Let's do it.
The interior of that home is plaster, right?
Yes. Yeah, the owner just, they wanted, even though on the exterior this one looks pretty good, they just wanted it smoother than this on the inside. And I can understand that. I think I would too.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, you're welcome to come on in here. Watch your step.
Long term, you could imagine, I mean, the walls have been getting smoother and smoother almost every year, so maybe they could achieve a finish like this with the printer.
That's right.
someday.
Yep, that's right. So you could see again, I'm sorry?
You need quiet?
No,
not
you're
that
all right.
quiet.
You could see again, we gave it like an old world plaster look. We're not trying to make it perfect. We're not trying to make it look like drywall necessarily. It's more of an old world plaster. A little bit of imperfect smooth is what we call it. But again, this one's just another one that's along the way. Cabinets are in, countertops are in, and you can see we've got the other trades here finishing it up.
Yeah, that's great. So what do you expect the time frame is until these are ready for move-in?
We'll be done on the insides, I would estimate within the next 30 to 40 days. Outside, we have a fair amount to do. We have driveways, we have landscape, and that's just going to be weather, weather permitting. So we don't know. We just simply don't know. We're dried in and we've got heat on in the buildings. So, you know, we can get paint to dry and we can get, we can keep working rain or shine, but the outside is what's going to hold up this project from getting a certificate of occupancy.
Is this a flood zone?
No.
It's not, because I see
No.
those homes over there are much lower than this.
Yep. Yeah, that's just a function of the grading of the site.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I guess it's very clay dense dirt.
It is. It is.
Is that
It,
what those are for?
yeah, these are actually let me see. These are sewer lines. So
Okay.
all four of these homes, the sewer exit out the back, and then it comes across the back, and you can see there's some trenching done. It actually connects to the city sewer back on the other side of that chain link fence. And the work is just stalled while we're waiting for the dirt to dry out.
Did you get any data on the blower door test or the insulation and stuff?
No, we have not done a blower door test on these. It's not required,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know that we will. The insulation was signed off, just that it was the proper material and proper thickness per design, but we haven't done any follow-up testing.
Yeah, usually printed homes perform really well on the blower, so well that they need extra exhaust to make sure there's not too much CO2.
Yeah, yeah, could very well be. Yeah. See, all of these homes have they're ducted mini splits. So here's the outside unit. The inside unit is up in the attic, and then it's ducted throughout. I don't know if you'd noticed while you were in there, but there's ceiling registers throughout. But it's a very efficient unit, and again, kind of like you said, when you're in there and you shut the door, they're just comfortable. It's the ambient temperature is just downright comfortable.
I know you mentioned you don't get too in the weeds with the engineering stuff, but is there any kind of development that you'd be really happy about or looking forward to?
On the technical side,
Yeah.
I'm excited about the BOD 3 printer uh, because a big part of our battle is setup and takedown and transport. BOD 3 promises to be quicker setup, takedown, less, to transport. Um, so that's an exciting development. I am looking forward to that. I understand that they've created a new type of nozzle that actually extrudes a much smoother product
Nice.
without the use of side flaps. We experimented with the flaps any number of ways and never found a great solution that we just loved. Maybe they have. So I'm looking forward to experimenting with whatever it is they've come up with.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the better finish qualities I've seen. And another nice part is the thicker layer height, so you're able to get more print done at once.
That's right. Yeah, the beauty of the system is we could do layers that are 1.5 inches tall. The mortar-based systems, generally speaking, they do layers that are 3/4 to maybe 1 inch at best. And when you're printing 9 feet, the taller each layer can be, the quicker you're going to get it done. Again, it's a cost factor. OSHA limits how fast we can run these machines, and as long as we're under that limit, the more height I could do with every layer, the better.
Do you know what that speed is? Offhand?
It's I believe it's 10 inches per second
Okay.
is the fastest it can go, which is quite
Yeah.
fast. Um, I don't know that anybody is routinely running at that speed all day, every day. But the fact is, we would all love to run it as quick as we can.
Mm-hmm.
And so while we're running it at whatever speed we're running it at, the taller we can go with each layer, the better.
Yeah, layer time is such an important factor, like you were talking about. The temperature
Yeah.
matters and all these other, the material acceleration
Yeah.
speed. Uh, really interesting stuff. And this final home was printed in 6 or 7 print days?
This one was, I believe, 6 print days. Yep.
Very nice.
Yep.
That's one of the fastest homes, certainly of this size, I've seen printed. And the printer assembly then is a kind of a big chunk of the project. How long does it take to get set up?
It is. It's a good couple of days on the setup side. It's a good couple of days on the takedown side.
So you're
And
talking almost 40% of each home is for setting up the printer, taking down the printer.
that's right. And then even those 6 print days, our crew is paid for 10, sometimes plus hours in a day. And on a good day, if we're getting 6 hours of print in, we're very fortunate.
Yeah.
So that's the other area that I'm really looking to find improvement in, is how long it takes to get rolling in the morning and how long it takes to clean up and prep for the next day at the end of the day, right? If I can utilize more of those paid hours to extrude, I mean, the 6 days it took probably translated to 30 print hours. You know, can we do that in less than 6 days? I would like to think at some point we will.
So as you move forward, I know some of the future business structure is still under the covers, but what's your ideal customer look like? If someone's watching and they want to work with you, what would qualify them?
Right now for us, it's challenging to do one-off homes somewhere. It's just way too cost prohibitive. So the ideal customer would be somebody that's got multiple units to build, uh, uh, and isn't primarily driven by cost. Um, Again, one of the things that I'm hoping we can all get to is to get out of this cycle of another disaster and another rebuild and another disaster and another rebuild. Too often, and I saw it right here in our hometown, as we're recovering after a disaster, sometimes all that we can afford to provide people with is a modular home. And I'm not knocking modular homes. It's just that that's tomorrow's tinderbox when the next fire comes through or when the next wind event happens. It's no surprise when we watch the news and there was a hurricane that the hurricanes seem to focus on the mobile home parks. And I don't think it's because they're focusing on it. I just think those are the vulnerable areas. And if we can build a better home and make that the part of the decision-making process, not necessarily the price, then maybe in the long run, that really was the more economical way to go.
Yeah, with all the learning curve still, it would make sense that the ideal customer might be somebody who's ready to tackle that and maybe has the resources to be on a hairpin trigger for the moment it is faster, cheaper, stronger, and ready to explode. Because if it's a smaller time player, maybe they can get through the R&D, but they're not ready to move to 1,000 homes a year. You need that.
That's right.
Deep pockets.
That's right. There needs to be the deep pockets, or there needs to be, you know, even layered grant funding. That's one of the ways we got these built. And there's no single grant that's going to, you know, do it, but it's typically going to be some form of layered grant funding, and it could be some housing grant money that's available. It could be workforce development. Again, that's not a hard argument to make that this is a new industry and we need to create a workforce. So there could be those kind of grants. And those are the types of things we're looking to leverage. So if there is a potential customer out there, maybe they're a nonprofit and they've got fundraising, grant writing expertise, and they can layer some funding together, that would be, again, an ideal customer for us.
Did the roofers complain about having to attach to curved corners?
No. What you don't see is that there's a straight line of roof beams, and the trusses all sit on that straight line of roof beams. So the rest, the only curved part that you have to interface with is the plaster, and that's free-formed anyway.
Nice. Were there any other things that were made more difficult or easier from the printing?
Well, again, you know, we built the same home here 6 times here in Reading. And with every subsequent house, minor changes, in some cases major changes were made to the tool path, to the design, but to the naked eye, if the average person looked at them, they may not see those differences, but it saved us a lot of time.
I can't tell.
Yeah. If I pointed them out, you'd see them. But generally speaking, it's the same 1,200 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. But there are little things that were changed along the way that it just saved minutes with every layer. and we got more efficient with every one we built.
Yeah, I recognize your electrician's the same guy from the very
Yeah,
first job.
that's right. That's right. Yep, he's helped a lot.
Yeah, it's great to have those relationships as you expand, as opposed to having to. Some companies print in a different state every time. It's unbelievable.
It's challenging, and then you have to teach a whole new crew on how to do it. That follow up, it's hard enough to figure out the 3D printing side of things, but then our electrician here, John, has so much knowledge that he gained with us. I can't imagine having to start over. We will have to in places. He's not going to go with us all over the world as we travel, but he is an invaluable resource for us.
Yeah, you're really in the Wild West when it comes to the standards and permitting have
Yeah,
really not been fully developed yet for this kind of stuff.
yeah.
Uh, how did your inspector feel about it? I know you mentioned in these first homes you had cutouts for some of the places to see where the
Yep.
rebar was going in the slab, and then the inspector said, it's fine, you guys are doing it right. You don't need to do that anymore.
You know, I've lived here in Redding in Shasta County now for about 34 years. Building department knows me. There's a lot that can be said just about reputation, just about working with somebody that's got, that that they want to put out a quality product. They're not looking to cut corners. So there was a lot of that. I can't stress enough the goodwill that I leveraged,
Mm-hmm.
that really helped. Um, when we first got these permitted, our building official asked me, well, how do we schedule inspections? I said, it's a great question. I'm just going to have you guys come out every day and we're going to figure this out together. I'm going to call it in, come out every day. I'll show you what we did. And by the time we get to the second or third one, maybe we can figure out that you don't need to be there every day and we'll come up with a schedule. And they did that. I don't know that I'm going to get that same goodwill when I go to some other community somewhere because they don't know me in the same way. But I can leverage off of what we did here. And I could tell you, California is not an easy state to get permitting. It's very regulation heavy. So when I do go into other states, I at least have that card I can play that, we got this done in California and here's what we did there. And perhaps I can leverage that.
Yeah, it sounds like a really smart strategy to bother the inspection guy as much as you can and offer them as much access. That's so uncommon. Most construction sites are like, shit, the inspector's coming today.
We never have anything to hide, and I've never made any bones about it. We are figuring this thing out too, and I could use your help. And they've absolutely been a help to us to help figure this out.
Yeah, you were talking about reputation in construction. And it's all about reputation and
Yeah,
trust.
yeah.
I guess people hear what I said about some contractors switching states, and anybody with construction experience knows that's kind of a big red flag.
Yeah. Flip side is we're in the 3D printing business, and it's kind of hard to find. How many more jobs am I going to do right here in Redding? Odds are and and I'll tell you, the projects we're looking at right now, not only a couple others here in Redding, but Central California, Southern Oregon, North Carolina, and Puerto Rico. So our future is looking like we're going to be traveling too. But it's because, there isn't a 3D printed building on every corner yet, right? We have to go to where the opportunity is.
And I'm sure you'll be building, even if it's not printed buildings, you'll be building in Reading until you retire,
That's
probably.
true. Yeah. We'll have a presence here till I retire, certainly, and beyond. My son-in-law is operating that, so yeah, we'll
Oh,
keep
that's
going.
great. It takes a great business to last past the founder.
Yeah. There's statistics out there nationally that say, I think the number is 96% of construction companies do not last over 10 years.
Wow. And very few of them ever get sold or anything like that.
Yeah. Once the founder is gone, it's done. Because that's what it was all based on.
I
Typically.
forget where I read this, but somebody said the last test of a great leader is creating the next great leader to run what they created.
All right. Well, the test is on. We'll see how it goes.
You're not planning on retiring anytime soon.
Well, no.
Good.
In a lot of ways, depending on how things go over the next, few years, my hair could be on fire, like for the next 5 years, in the best way possible. Like this is as exciting to me as can be. I love that I can leverage my past 30 years of experience and help launch this new thing, right? it really is a wonderful place to be. I really enjoy it a lot. If it wasn't for the 3D printing, I could see myself slowing down, but I have no plans on doing that right now.
So have you gotten to this stage operating it mostly as a general contractor, or have you raised a bunch of VC money or anything?
So we are looking to operate more as a GC wherever we go, but not solely. By operating as a GC, you create margin in all of the other trades, and that can help subsidize the losses you're taking on the 3D print side. So it just makes the numbers work better. Right now, there is not a ton of extra VC money available for trying to do what we're doing here because it's such a long-term play, right? And so we've got to figure out as an industry ways to make it affordable, make it economical, make the numbers pencil within ourselves. And one of the best ways to do it, from my perspective, is that we do it as a GC, perhaps even self-performing other parts of the task. So you minimize the number of people that are grabbing overhead and profit funds out of the deal.
Yeah, I love that about you guys because you're prioritizing cash flow. And even when it was 0% interest rates, you guys weren't going for the easy VC money, which is often predatory. And then they want to get the cash back quickly.
That's right.
Now you are much more comfortable in the current environment where a lot of companies that were dependent on raising millions of dollars are struggling, and you guys are still able to
It's
keep
not
pushing.
there. It's just not there. And you know, Emergent 3D's been in a round to raise funds, and we've struggled as well, even with our successes. You know, it's tough because the industry is still evolving. We're not profitable yet, right? So we need to be able to show how we can build a house and actually come out the other side in the black. And in my humble opinion, one of the ways we'll do that is by operating as a GC, not so much just as a 3D printing subcontractor.
Have you considered doing any kind of crowdfunding? A lot of times that's less predatory, and then it creates a lot of people, like an army of people who are behind you and supporting you on social media, excited about your progress.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Who knows? You know, yep, it's possible.
Well, if I can afford the minimum investment, I'll get in on that.
Sounds great.
I always try to. Start Engine's a great platform for it, but
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I really appreciate your candidness. You really give a lot of honesty and transparency that some of the companies are hesitant to share. So that's really, really cool.
It's it's exciting, it's challenging, it's frustrating, it's all of the above. Certainly not for the faint of heart, but I'm enjoying the hell out of it. You know, it's again, just at this point in my career, I turned 60 years old last year, and at this part of my career, it's a fun place to be. You know, in this exciting new era, I see it attracting younger people that we haven't seen young people interested in construction in years, and this is starting to turn that around a bit.
Yeah, for sure. The average age on construction's in like the 40s, approaching 50s. And when I was here, your job site had a bunch of people in their 20s,
Yeah,
30s.
yeah, yep. Yeah, I think the last time you were here, we were printing this exact house, and we were up to about the 4 foot height or so. And if I remember right, Sean did a little salsa dance for your TikTok crowd,
Yeah, something like that.
something like
The
that.
How do people reach out to you if they want to work with you?
Well, certainly, you know, hit our website. I mean, we're on all the social media platforms, but hit our website. It's emergent-3d.com, and you can certainly contact us through there.
Excellent. And what else did we miss? What didn't we cover?
Oh, I don't know. Looks like the rain's coming. I think we got it all.
Awesome. Well,
Unless there's any questions you've got
thank you so
beyond that.
much.
All right. Thank you. Always appreciate you.